behind us, and that means now that we can introduce a wonderful writer, Sesshu Foster, and his tabla accompanist, Pial Hossain.
Oh, like a lot of things. Initially, I didn't look at spending my days and afternoons and weekends in the parks of Los Angeles as my most favorite thing. But years later, I wish I could get some of those games back. So that's part of the impetus for this book. Moisture blows out of the damp air, swirling down the sidelines. Several girls stream by, then the galloping herd, grass-stained, mud-smeared, flecked with grass, jerseys rippling. Rain drives into my shoulders. People crowd under the umbrellas or move under the trees. My daughter hangs back a step. She has that harried face, shining. Exchange of glances with a midfielder who sends her the ball. She drives up the right toward the goal. A defender hustles out of the backfield dimness to cover. Some slick winters, we might be the first on the field. The cold grass, wet and slick. I'd help a couple of dads carry the aluminum goalposts to the far end of the field, peg them down with a mallet, stretch the nylon net across the posts. The girls would roll out languid, cold and sleepy. Maybe only a couple talking loud, tough getting them moving. The coach would talk at them, send them into warm-ups, but if the other team ran out, pumped and ready, it might be over in the first quarter. Even if the girls woke up after the first couple goals, they might not be able to regain it. I'd cheer them anyway, pace the sidelines sucking coffee from the styrofoam cup, toss my daughter a water bottle when she came in at the quarter winded. Something might break. All those years went by, and I did end up writing a couple books and getting some other things done with my life. But part of this manuscript are bits and pieces that I heard, or people said to me. At that time, she said she had no longer any interest in white men. At that point, she told me she was no longer sleeping with men. Some hair you shave, some you cut off and brush, some you ignore. I thought she was kind of old to be still sucking her thumb. The woman had a 4 or 5-year-old boy sitting on her lap, nursing at the breast. At some point, you decided not to give the panhandlers any change except for homeless women. She told me she always acknowledged the homeless as human beings and tried to give them something. She said recently, one of them screamed abuse at her and threatened her with the attention to detail intrinsic to applying makeup. He said he just woke up sick one day and decided that was enough. After the last visit, she told me she'd never let him in the house again. They stopped writing to each other. They stopped talking to each other. Too old for children. He said at that age they get too big to spank. She said to me, I'm too old for that kind of BS. She said, she's old enough to make her own decisions now. He said, there won't be a woman for me now. It doesn't matter, he said to himself. After a while, she had a lot of cats. She said that the way she found out whether or not she was compatible with a roommate was by sleeping with them. One day, he stopped eating, and Dad was the only one there, waiting with him until the end. At a certain point, I stopped giving money to the party. After a couple years, I decided I would no longer participate. She told me, "You don't have to get the dishes that clean." One kid tried to swim across the Colorado. They found his body downriver 3 days later. As we flew over, pieces of the chopper were scattered across the flat mountaintop where the crew died. He wore a beard to cover the scars from Vietnam. The Heliattack chopper pilot was trying to impress the female crew members, so he flew as low over the ridges as he could on the way back from the fire, dropping down behind them over the treetops. Over the landing site, he executed an emergency maneuver, which involved shutting down the turbine engines of the helicopter on our descent, as if the engines had stalled. Letting the updraft into the rotors jump-start the engines, except it didn't work. The engines didn't start by themselves, so 100 feet above the ground, he flicked on the engines, and only one of two engines fired. The rotor spinning, we hit the ground, would split the belly of the craft, bouncing within yards of the trailer. I was rushing through the crowded, dusty streets in late afternoon, into the fumes of traffic and particulate matter that rises up from litter, excrement, street dust, smog, puddles, in the humidity to leave a film on your skin, and staying on the narrow, crowded sidewalk out of heedless, speeding traffic, I stopped, sensing someone sitting beneath me up against the buildings, and so as not to step on them, looked down, and it was a weary young woman sitting on the entrance to the clothing store, two small children beside her as she nursed an infant, her breast engorged, blue veins pressing against the skin, the baby drawing the dark areola down into its mouth. What a thing, strange and ordinary things, stuff like cars and doors, books and hairbrushes, music CDs and doorknobs, dishes and rooftops, toilet paper and plants, cups, folders, paper, floors and hallways, sidewalks and gutters, something essential of the universe in your eyeliner. As if things exist underwater and above water, as if things exist in our thoughts and outside of our thoughts, as if things exist in light and darkness, both simultaneous, as if things cold and on fire now, as if things swim and move and are frozen in time, as if things go away and disappear and come back different, as if things are sharp-cornered and flat and pulsing warm. Stripped of all his trappings of rank, the aristocratic war captive depicted on this figurine has none of the elaborate gear or accessories usually seen on Maya ballplayers. Instead, he wears the simple loincloth of the prisoner of war. The only indication he's about to play is the small ball he holds in his right hand. Marks on his bruised and swollen face and the sash draped over his left arm convey that he has undergone bloodletting rituals in preparation for his sacrifice. I'm speaking to you from inside this sweet purple sunset. Do not answer until the window opens inside you. I'm speaking to you inside this faded bruise, not of 20 minutes. Do not answer until you hear the question. I'm speaking to you from the middle distance, 1979. He, she's on your arm or is your arm. So just don't squirt that blood from your eye. I'm speaking to you from Carlos Fonseca or the Gulf of Fonseca. Do not answer while questions happiness your mouth. Don't do anything like that again, I said. I noticed the cast on one foot, otherwise not a single visible scar. She smiled sweetly as ever, that girl who'd thrown herself drunk off the overpass onto the 605. Vietnamita with black hair she tucked behind her ear with a nervous chuckle. My father didn't want me to have a boyfriend. How are you getting along with your father now? Better. That girl's getting a reputation, somebody a lot like her would say.